Sterling, Lucas, Dave, and Hunter, we need to talk to you. Actually, Trey needs to talk to you.
I just spent about two and a half of the worst hours of my life with M. Shaw. Thanks to you four.
Many people are crazy about Todd Hoffman's story of guts and glory on Gold Rush, but not all things are what they seem. His departure wasn't a quiet retirement. It was a forced exit. A horrible secret, something that happened far from the gold fields of the Yukon, was leaked, and it changed everything. We're not just talking about financial debt. We're talking about a behind-the-scenes catastrophe that, once exposed, made it impossible for him to continue.
I'm not gonna take some back jumping.
Just
let him up.
Walk, just walk.
Come on, Dave, let's finish it.
Got it.
Trey, please.
Coward.
No.
Dave, Trey, enough. Enough, Trey.
Look at him, look at him. Taunting me.
Not.
The most shocking fact is that the network might have helped cover it up. Until now, bottom to gold fever. Todd Hoffman's story begins not in the frozen north, but in the quiet town of Sandy, Oregon, with the ghost of a dream. You see, his father, Jack Hoffman, had tried his hand at gold mining back in the 1980s. Jack went all in, chasing a glittering promise in the Alaskan wilderness, only to come back with empty pockets and a heavy heart. That story of failure became a legend in the Hoffman household, a cautionary tale. What many overlooked is that for young Todd, it wasn't a warning, it was a challenge. He grew up watching his dad, a man of faith and adventure, harbor a quiet regret. That seed of an idea, to finish what his father started, lay dormant for decades.
We have some unfinished business up here. This is a chance to set my family up for generations. The chance for me and Hunter's relationship to grow. And also for my father to just live out his mining dream. You know, he'll be the first to tell you that he doesn't have a lot of time left.
Life went on, and Todd tried to build a conventional life. He ran an aviation business in Oregon, leasing small planes. To put it mildly, it wasn't a raging success, but it was a living. Then, 2008 happened. The global financial crisis hit like a tidal wave, and the aviation industry was one of the first to go under. Todd's business collapsed, leaving him with nothing but debt and the crushing weight of having to provide for his wife and 2 sons. This wasn't just a setback, it was rock bottom. It was in that desperation that his father's old ghost came calling. The crazy idea of gold mining didn't seem so crazy anymore. It felt like the only option left.
I sat right over at that fire over there and just about gave up. Every day, the only thing I can do is really basically get up and make a fire. Because I was raising my 2 boys by myself, but God gave me a second chance. And I remember the idea of Gold Rush coming up with the idea of a TV show.
The thing nobody tells you about starting a gold mining operation is the insane upfront cost. It's not just buying a pan and a shovel. You need heavy machinery. A single D9 bulldozer can cost close to $1 million, and that's before you even think about wash plants, excavators, and dump trucks. Todd had no money, so he did the only thing he could. He sold a dream. He gathered a group of his friends from Oregon, guys who were also feeling the sting of the recession. They were mechanics, construction workers, and small-time business owners, none of them professional miners. He pitched them the idea of a lifetime, quit their jobs, pool their money, and head north to Alaska to strike it rich.
Guys, I want to go back to the Klondike and finish what we started. If we could find some good land, put the equipment back together, and let's go.
It was an impossible sell, but Todd has a way with words. He's a preacher of possibility. He convinced 6 men to gamble their futures alongside him. They sold their businesses, cashed in their retirement funds, and mortgaged their homes. They were all in. This ragtag crew, with their second-hand equipment and boundless, naive optimism, was the perfect recipe for reality television. A producer caught wind of their story, and soon the Discovery Channel was on board. They weren't just mining for gold. They were mining for television gold. The show, initially called Gold Rush Alaska, premiered in 2010.
Is it? No way. That thing hasn't run in years.
Let's go talk to him. You Mike?
Yes?
Hey Mike.
How you doing? Michael Pfister.
Hi, Mike. I'm Dave.
How you doing? Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
You got some good ground here?
The land is very good. There's gold in the ground. You just got to get it out.
Huh.
And an audience of millions tuned in to watch this desperate real-life treasure hunt. Little did they know, a horrifying secret was already brewing under the surface. What was buried deeper than any gold? The next chapter reveals all. The Curse of Porcupine Creek. The first season for the Hoffman crew was, to put it mildly, a disaster. They arrived at Porcupine Creek, Alaska, full of hope, only to be humbled by the harsh reality of mining. The most shocking fact is that for every 100 people who set out to mine gold commercially, fewer than one actually turns a significant profit. The Hoffmans learned this the hard way. Their equipment was constantly breaking down. Their inexperience led to costly mistakes.
Hey guys, we need more material through here. So you got it. Oh! You are freaking kidding me! Server! Server, kill the motor!
They barely scraped together 14 ounces of gold, worth around $20,000, after spending hundreds of thousands just to get started. It was a brutal lesson, but it made for great television. Viewers were hooked on the drama of their struggle. But not all things are what they seem.
We should have got combined at least 200 ounces a week out of both the plants. We got less than 20. That doesn't even pay the fuel bill. Guys, I gotta shut it down. I don't have any other choice right now.
While on camera, Todd preached faith and perseverance. Off camera, the pressure was building to a breaking point. The network, thrilled with the show's ratings, wanted more drama, bigger risks, and higher stakes. This pressure led Todd to make his most infamous decision, leaving Alaska for the jungles of Guyana, South America. He promised his crew a tropical paradise filled with gold nuggets the size of their fists. What they found was a nightmare. The jungle was unforgiving. Their equipment got stuck in the mud, local disputes halted their work, and the gold simply wasn't there. The Guyana expedition was a complete and utter failure, costing them over $1 million. The crew returned home defeated and broke. You can see this everywhere in reality TV. The push for a bigger, more dramatic storyline often leads to real-world consequences. It was during this time that the first whispers of a leak began. Rumors circulated that a crew member, fed up with Todd's leadership and the constant losses, had secretly recorded some of Todd's off-camera meltdowns. These weren't the motivational speeches viewers saw on TV. These were recordings of a man at his breaking point, screaming about debts and network pressure. The existence of these tapes became a ticking time bomb. The thing nobody tells you is that the crew wasn't just losing their own money. They were deeply in debt to the production company. The show fronted a lot of the costs for the equipment and fuel, costs that were supposed to be paid back with gold profits. With no profits, the debt ballooned. A financial document allegedly found its way into the wrong hands, detailing millions of dollars in the red. This leak, combined with the rumored audio tapes, painted a picture of a man not just failing, but spiraling out of control and taking everyone down with him. The horrible secret was no longer just about a lack of gold. It was about a complete collapse hidden behind a TV-friendly smile.
Right there, man. This could change our season right there. So I got to get my hands on this product ASAP because we got to get our plants up and running or we're not going to meet our goals.
The leak was about to go public, forcing a final, desperate move. Discovery's dark secret. After the Guyana catastrophe, the Hoffman crew limped back to North America, but the damage was done. Their reputation was in tatters and the internal trust was shattered. They tried to reboot their operation in Oregon and later Colorado, and for a time, it seemed like they might turn things around. Season 8 was their make-or-break moment. Todd made a massive bet on a mine in Colorado, promising his crew and the viewers a staggering 5,000-ounce season.
Old Parker's running already, so, you know, I can look at that two ways. I could be pissed, or I can look at it like, you know what, I'm putting my war machine together and we're gonna kick his ass.
It was a bold, almost delusional goal, and it was a direct response to the immense pressure he was under. He needed a win, not just for his finances, but to silence the critics and the dark rumors swirling around him. This is when the horrible leak finally happened. a small, obscure entertainment blog, published an article claiming to have inside information.
I appreciate it. I'm not happy that you guys are struggling because of my decisions. That's not funny to me.
The article detailed the Hoffman crew's true financial state, alleging they were over $10 million in debt to Discovery. But the most shocking fact was a short, muffled audio clip embedded in the post. In the clip, a voice that sounded unmistakably like Todd's could be heard in a heated argument, seemingly with a producer. The voice shouted about being forced to fake drama and how the network was ruining his family for ratings. It was the smoking gun.
Look at life. My grandfather wasn't good to my dad. But you were good to me, and you're good to everybody around you.
The leak confirmed what many had suspected, that the on-screen struggles were being manipulated and amplified for television. For Todd, who had built his brand on faith, family, and authenticity,
Let's go. Follow me. What's going on? Battle of two bad tempers.
Whose? Dave's?
Dave and Trey.
Where are they?
Dave left.
Dave is with Andy.
this was a devastating blow. It exposed him as a puppet in a TV show, not the master of his own destiny. The fallout was immediate. The story was picked up by larger outlets, and the phrase, "Gold Rush is fake," began trending. The network was facing a credibility crisis, and Todd was at the center of it. What many overlooked was that the leak didn't just embarrass him, it cornered him. He had lost control of his own narrative. You see, the horrible part of the leak wasn't just the financial ruin or the staged drama. It was the public humiliation. Todd Hoffman, the tough, God-fearing miner, was exposed as a man on the edge, trapped in a deal he couldn't escape. Insiders claim the network gave him an ultimatum. Either he could publicly deny the audio and play along, or he could walk. To put it mildly, his position was impossible.
You know, obviously there's a few friends. You know, a lot of people, when you are successful and then you go through hard times and it's hard to watch, a lot of people will abandon you and your friends will leave you and you know, you have to rely on your family and just a few close friends if you still have them.
Denying it would be a lie, but staying would mean continuing the charade that was destroying him. So, at the end of Season 8, after failing to reach his 5,000-ounce goal, he announced his departure.
Guys, I want to go back to the Klondike and finish what we started.
It was framed as his choice, but behind the scenes, he was forced out by the exposure of a secret he could no longer keep. But was the leak the whole story? The final truth is even more complex. What really forced him out? So, was there a massive conspiracy? Was Todd Hoffman the victim of a malicious leak designed to ruin him? The thing is, when you talk to people watching this, you realize they are looking for a deep, dark mystery. They wonder if this all happened overnight, if it's all true, or if we are missing a key detail. The real story, as it often is both simpler and sadder. The horrible leak wasn't a single event. It was the slow, agonizing exposure of the truth that had been hiding in plain sight all along. The horrible truth was, the man himself was breaking. The financial documents? They were real. The audio of him cracking under pressure? Very likely real. But these weren't secrets leaked by an enemy. They were the inevitable consequences of his situation. For 8 years, Todd Hoffman lived in a pressure cooker. He wasn't just a gold miner, he was a character on a TV show, a character he was expected to play 24/7. He was the dreamer, the leader, the gambler. When the cameras were on, he had to project confidence, even when his machines were broken and his bank account was empty. The immense gap between the character he played and the desperate man he was in reality became a canyon that was impossible to bridge.
Well, they've seen, you know, that jungle, going to the jungle wasn't an easy thing. They basically watched me get my ass kicked on worldwide TV, you know. 200 million people saw that season worldwide in 120 languages.
What many overlooked is the psychological toll of that life. Imagine having every one of your failures broadcast to millions of people each week. Imagine reading thousands of comments online calling you a fool, an idiot, a fraud. Todd wasn't a seasoned actor. He was a guy from Oregon who got in over his head. The horrible thing that was leaked wasn't a scandal, it was his humanity. It was the raw, unfiltered reality of a man ground down by failure, debt, and the soul-crushing machine of reality television.
One false step, we're not going to meet our goal, and you know what? It's already getting cold and we're running out of time.
His departure wasn't about the network forcing him out over a single leak or a singular disastrous season. It was a far more profound and mutual recognition that the story had reached its inevitable end. The narrative arc had flatlined. The character of Todd Hoffman, the bombastic, prayer-fueled eternal optimist, was no longer believable, not to the audience that had watched him fail repeatedly, and certainly not to the man himself. The chasm between the televised persona and the weary man behind it had grown too vast to bridge. To continue would have been an exercise in self-parody.
That is not gonna work. We need a wet feed system.
The problem is,
I've priced a couple of them out, but it's $80,000.
Oh, man.
He had to leave to save himself. You see, the initial dream of striking it rich, that relatable ambition that first drew viewers in, had metastasized into a public nightmare played out in weekly installments. What many overlooked was the corrosive effect of that constant scrutiny. Every poor decision, every mechanical failure, and every ounce of gold not found was magnified, edited for maximum drama, and broadcast for global consumption. The weight of that constant televised failure became an unbearable burden, a psychological pressure cooker fueled by millions of armchair critics online. The only way to wake up from this constructed reality was to walk away from the cameras for good, to reclaim a life not dictated by production schedules and the relentless demand for a compelling narrative. It was an act of self-preservation. The biggest risk he ever took wasn't investing millions in unproven ground or leading a crew into the wilderness. It was the insidious bargain he made at the very beginning, betting his entire identity on a television show. He wagered his name, his family's reputation, and his own sense of self on the promise of fame and fortune. For a time, it paid off. But in the end, the cost was a fractured psyche and a public persona he could no longer inhabit. The line between the real person and the on-screen character blurred until it disappeared, and the pressure to create a good story began to dictate real-life choices, often with catastrophic consequences. He was trapped playing a role he had written for himself but could no longer stand to perform. That was a price far too high to pay for any amount of gold. The real treasure he left the Yukon searching for wasn't buried in the permafrost. It was the piece of his own soul he'd traded away and desperately needed to find again.
you know, we're having a lot of issues, a lot of tough times. We're not getting the gold that we want. It doesn't mean it always keeps going like that. This season is the most emotional year, the most drama I've ever had to deal with. It's unbelievable. There's some things coming in the show that, to be honest with you, we're not real proud of.
So, was Todd a failed dreamer or a victim of the reality TV machine? The lines are blurry. Let us know what you think below, and don't forget to like and subscribe.